Life is just a lab where you're both the experiment and the experimenter. The truth is found by running tests to arrive at it. You can't know what's best for you until you know what isn't. Most people spend their entire lives being an experiment, never realizing that they're the head researcher of their own life. One such experiment is the common path. You go to school listening to a professor you don't care for teach a subject you aren't interested in. After doing that for 4 years, maybe more depending on what you choose, you get to spend the next 40 years doing a job you don't like, surrounded by people you distaste, working under a boss that you hate. Then at the end of it all, once you're old and decrepit at the age of 65, you get to sit back and relax and enjoy the rest of your life, if you're even allowed to do that. And you wonder why you can't enjoy your life. You spend the entirety of it being a lab rat. What's going on, brothers? I hope you're all having a blessed day today. See, the thing about life is that it's full of different pathways. There are innumerable different paths that can be used to reach the end. The problem is that many of these remain uncharted. Instead of trekking each path and finding new discoveries, we're forced down the ones that society wants us to take. I'm reminded of my short stint working at a fast food restaurant. I can distinctly remember how soulless and unfulfilling it all felt. Salting fries, frying chicken, making sandwiches. There were people who had been working there for years. It hurt my soul to imagine how they'd been there day in and day out, repeating the same tasks over and over and over again. Luckily for me, my intention for that job was to stack paper for the business that I was starting. And once I had accomplished that goal, I quit. But most people aren't like that. Most people don't have a plan for the future. That is their plan, the only one they have. But that plan isn't really theirs. Whether it be corporate or fast food or wherever else people are working, they're not doing so out of their own choice, but because it's seen as normal. They become sheep, herded into wherever the shepherd deems fit. It's not necessarily about where you end up, but how. The path you're on now wasn't arrived at due to various experiments, failures, and guesses, but it was arrived at because you were forced to arrive there. Not only are you forced onto a path you don't like, but you end up completely lost and unfulfilled. Because you were simply being herded along, you have no clue where you are. That being the case, it's going to be extremely difficult for you to get where you want to be in life. Now you're simply stuck living a life you don't want. But worse than that, you never find out what your dream life could have been like. And you can imagine and you can dream all you want, but you'll never truly know because you never used yourself as an experiment. Rather than spend your years running their experiments on you, you need to reclaim control. You need to become the head researcher of your own life. When you embark on this path of self-discovery and experimentation, you'll begin to obtain true knowledge. Julius Caesar said it best: experience is the teacher of all things. True knowledge can't be obtained from reading books or taking courses, listening to podcasts, or even being taught. It can only be gained through direct experience. You'll never know your income potential if you don't go out there and find it. You'll never know your physical peak if you never go out and test yourself. You'll never know the impact you'll have on others until you go out and discover it. To find these things, you have to experiment on yourself. Otherwise, they'll remain an enigma. Through constant self-experimentation, you'll find out what's truly best for you. As a bit of a personal anecdote, after months of experimentation, I finally found a workout routine that I could reliably stick to and reach my goals with. I initially started out with the traditional upper-lower split, but I didn't like how I was spending 2 hours in the gym. So I tried switching some of the workouts around, but that didn't see much of a change. After a bit more testing, I found that when I hit arms on my off days, I enjoyed my split a lot more. Now that's the one I go with, upper-lower with arms on my rest days. I would have never found a split that worked for me if I never told myself, I don't like this, let me find something that I do. I could have done all the research in the world, but I never would have known if I never went out and did anything. Self-experimentation is the path to living a life curated exactly to your liking. And I don't just mean with workout splits. Your daily routine, the work you do, the diet you have, the lifestyle you live, and the things you enjoy. All of these can be curated to fit exactly what you want. The only way to do this, however, is through self-experimentation. If life is a laboratory with you as the experimenter, it stands to reason that you're going to need some sort of scientific method to be successful. That's where the IPIRA framework comes in. The I in IPIRA stands for intent. I can't stress this enough, but intention is probably the most important thing that you can ever implement in your life. It gives you direction and purpose, something to direct your energy and your efforts toward. If you're running an experiment, you need a goal. There has to be a reason you're running all of these tests, and this can be anything. Something you want to change about yourself, a milestone you want to achieve, a skill you want to acquire, or a problem that you want to solve. Having an intention sets the tone for the rest of your experimentation. From it, you'll be able to derive all of the different paths to achieve it. And if you want a guide on how to create supercharged intentions, it'll be the first link that you see in the description. The P in IPIRA stands for pathways. There are many roads to the top of the mountain, but the view always remains the same. Let's imagine that this mountain is the math equation 2 + 2 = 4. There are multiple ways you can get to 4. You could say 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 = 4. You could say 2 × 2 = 4. You could say 16 divided by 4 is equal to 4. And you can even say something crazy like 8 squared minus 32 over 8 is equal to 4. All 4 equations yield the value of 4. See what I did there? Life works the exact same way. For example, if you have an intent to improve your physique, you could try weightlifting, calisthenics, CrossFit, basketball, or even martial arts. To improve your income, you can get a job, you can start a side hustle or a business, you could try freelancing, you could try trading, or you could even try gambling. Please don't do that though. One common problem faced in this stage is analysis paralysis. With so many different options to choose from, you hesitate trying to find the most optimal and effective solution, wasting a lot of time and energy in the process. This doesn't make much sense for 2 reasons. One is that you can't truly know what's optimal for you until you've actually gone out and tested it. 2, if you were a scientist, you would understand that you lack knowledge and experience in the first place. That's why you set that intent, or your hypothesis. With that in mind, you would simply test every option to ascertain the truth, understanding that mistakes and failures are simply a part of the process. Next is immersion. You want to fully immerse yourself into one of the given pathways. You want to dive deep and leave no stone unturned. This will ensure that you've gathered a good amount of data. To generate online income, I first immersed myself in the domain of Amazon FBA. I dove deep and learned many different topics and skills that allowed me to achieve that intent. To improve my body, I first immersed myself in the domain of calisthenics, doing push-ups, squats, and pull-ups by hanging a towel above my door. It's imperative that you avoid quitting early just because the path is difficult. Everything feels difficult at first, but the effort invested decreases as experience is gained. Push through the hardship and soon you'll have enough data to conclude. Next comes reflection. At this point, you should have gained a decent amount of data and experience. Now it's time for you to reflect on it. Ask yourself questions such as these. Is this a process that I enjoyed? Is this something that I can see myself doing forever? Does this align with my core values? And have I genuinely grown from this? Take your time here and really think. Your answer to these questions and similar ones will help you determine what to do in the final step. Lastly, we have adaptation. This step is fairly simple. You acquired a solid amount of data and you took your time to deeply analyze it. Now you have to make a decision. You either accept the pathway, seamlessly integrating it into your life as you've deemed it worthy of your evolved self, or you reject it and return to the pathway stage, realizing that this isn't for you and that there's something better out there. Only you can determine what's best for you, so don't let anybody else interrupt this process. Too many of us stumble blindly through life, trapped in someone else's plan. You don't have to become one of them. Your life isn't something that just happens to you, it's something that you create. But to do that, you have to start thinking like a scientist, and your life is the ultimate laboratory. Don't be afraid to experiment and be willing to fail. But more importantly, use the IPIRA framework to guide your experiments and accelerate your success. It's important to remember that your first experiment won't be your last. You're in for a lifelong journey of discovery. With each cycle, you'll gain more knowledge about yourself, your likes, your dislikes, and your weaknesses. That clarity gives you the power to build a life tailored to who you truly are. Let's put the work in. Peace.